There's a certain point where I think for some gay men, and this could apply to other people in the LGBTQ plus community too, but I feel like there's a certain point where gay loneliness can become almost a cruel cycle. This builds off from the conversation I just had about how gay loneliness can lead to self sabotage, because this is something that I did when I was in college before I had, access to long term therapy to kind of unpack everything that I went through. But for me, there was a certain point where not only myself, but I would see other gay men around me experience this, where we would kind of become so accustomed to gay loneliness that it felt like wearing comfortable pajamas in a way. You know, old clothes that we don't want to part with. It became so comfortable that feeling any other way would actually feel uncomfortable. I remember when going back years and years ago, I would write like very cringy fan fiction. And part of my therapy a long time ago was kind of like self examining my fan fiction, which was a little trippy. But I remember looking through that fan fiction and realizing that all of the characters that I self identified with were characters that I deliberately made alone, even though they had access to the potential of love and belonging, right? And I think that because I had gotten so accustomed to that sense of loneliness, that even when I was in access of spaces that would help me belong, I would kind of sort of enter those spaces, but the moment I felt any sense of belonging, I immediately kind of ran. I would flee it. And I think that I would do that though because, one, it made me feel differently. It almost felt like just a completely alien feeling to me to belong. But number two, I was so worried about having something like that and then losing it, because I think one thing that gay loneliness does is it kind of like conditions us to always anticipate loss. And I think that that's something that I'm going to probably unpack more in another video discussing this. But I think that for me, like in college, going back to that self-sabotage thing again, I kind of sabotaged myself from experiencing a lot of wholesome, queer spaces, because I was so afraid of, losing the comfort, the very masochistic comfort I had in that isolation, but also afraid of like the potential of losing something that I didn't even really have yet. And I know that's a lot to unpack. Believe me, I've spent years unpacking that, and I've gotten to a point now where I've been able to. But I'm going to be doing another discussion video talking about gay loneliness in queer spaces, because this is going to connect a little bit to that as well. But I think that sometimes, like, even when we inhabit queer spaces that are safe, sometimes like that loneliness like comes through. Like, I cannot begin to tell you how many times like I've been places, and I've just felt so out of place because I had been so accustomed to feeling that feeling. And a part of me is always like, Donnie, why are you doing this to yourself? Like, kind of trying to blame myself for like those years of like isolation, when the truth is it just requires constant vigilance, right? This constant vigilance of, hey, I am not in that space anymore. I'm at a point in my life where I do have a sense of belonging. I am surrounded by people who are supportive, and I'm not going to have those things ripped away from me, like, a rug being ripped away, right? So, I don't know if any of this made sense. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have any of you ever experienced this? Don't forget to click like. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for these ongoing conversations. Again, I think that it's very important that we have conversations about gay loneliness and how it impacts other aspects of, our identities, the spaces we inhabit, the people we become, the situations and scenarios we navigate. I know it can be a lot. I know it's a lot to unpack, but again, I've come to realize that this is a pretty, significantly shared experience for not only gay men, but a lot of people in the LGBTQ plus community as a whole. Anyway, thank you for listening. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.